In the world we live in, it can be a real challenge to make healthy choices. Between the responsibilities of modern life and the food wars, there's little time and lots of confusion. My next guest is a certified personal trainer, behavioral change specialist, and practicing registered nurse who gained 50 pounds on purpose. Why, you ask? So he could experiment on himself to see if it was possible to lose weight by eating only fast food for 60 days. I know, you have questions, so do I. So today he's going to share his story as we ask the question, can you get fit on fast food? YouTuber, boundary pusher, fellow Pensacolian, Matt Lane. Thanks for being here.
Oh my gosh, I've heard so many of these intros and I'm so honored to have one. So good, so good. Well, I appreciate you having me on. Seriously.
Cheers.
Absolutely. To in person.
So I was watching your documentary and you said that a lot of people walking around the world probably don't even realize how bad they feel. And I'd like to go through, if it's okay with you, the different categories of health and have you respond in one word how you felt when you were going through this journey.
Okay.
And then we'll unpack it.
I like it.
In more detail. Okay. Mental health.
Sad.
Cognitive ability.
Limited.
Energy levels.
Poor.
Sex life.
Embarrassing.
Okay, I love it. So at what point in the weight gain process did the mental health start to slide?
I think the first 15 pounds was, I got the question like, how was it? Like I think people like relished like, oh, you got to just gain weight. I bet that was awesome. The first 15 pounds was honestly fun and easy to put on. But when I hit around 190, and I started at, I think it was about 160, 165, hit 190, and I was like, okay, this is significant. My abilities are limited. 200, I was like, this is getting pretty rough. And then 210, 211, where I topped out, I was like, this is miserable. Like short of breath walking upstairs, normal everyday things. It was very obvious, like, I'm limited. I'm limited in what I could do. And it was weird to feel that.
For the mental health part, was it like one day you woke up and you felt terrible, or was it kind of a slow slide?
There were slow slides, and there were also points where I think it hit me harder at times, if that makes sense. Like people that I had been around for years treated me just a little bit differently.
Really?
Yeah. And I mean, they weren't like, you're a piece of crap, but it was, maybe a subconscious thing.
Yeah.
So there was little things that I saw along the way, and like the physical things led to the mental things. Like I would get out of bed and my feet would hurt, which had never happened. And I'm like, what is that? And then like realizing that I put the weight on, I was like, oh my gosh, if I didn't know how to get out of this would be torturous because I feel like I was trapped. So yeah, I had a weird, I think, angle of knowing I could get out of it.
Yeah.
But I always tried to think like, what if I didn't know what I know? Like it would be much worse.
And you still worked out during all of this, right?
So for the gaining the weight time, yeah. So I did. That was one area where I was like, I want this experience and all that, but what's going to be dangerous for my head? And I honestly did not know because I'd never done it. I had never been overweight. And that's like the reason that I did that was because of the clients and the people that I worked with. I felt like an imposter. So I was like, yeah, I want to feel that way, but how much am I willing to do?
A lot of people have a hard time though with that like momentum of getting up to do the workout when they feel bad. But for you, was it opposite? Like I feel bad, so I'm going to cling to the workout.
So it definitely was like the thing that I knew, and it brought me peace. But I'd be lying if I said that it was easy all the way throughout. Like the bigger that I got, the tougher it was. Yeah, without a doubt, I had actual pain. So it was like, well, I mean, I guess I can just shrug it off. Had I not had that before, I think it would have been worse. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tough cycle to get stuck in.
Yeah.
And I think relationship wise, like you and your wife, I've heard you talk about in videos that, it was an interesting experiment, maybe unexpectedly, for compassion on one another, but it obviously also affect your love life.
Yeah, it did. And it was interesting because she's gained weight before and then lost weight and all that. And on my side, being the fitness person, my number one thing was like, don't judge, because I don't know what's truly in her head. She can talk to me and all that, but I don't truly know. But to switch roles and to see her be like, oh, like the limitations and what I might be feeling that day, it was very interesting to see. So like it was a lesson for her as well. It was really cool to see. And I just didn't see that coming.
Huh. Was that the most unexpected thing during this process?
No. To be honest with you, I was probably the most excited about my lab work, like during the actual fast food and all that. Like that was like one of the most exciting pieces for me, just to see that the metabolic health had changed.
Yeah.
But
that's definitely like the nerdy part.
Yeah, that's the nerdy part. Sure. Now, with she and I being limited when I had never had any issues before, it was weird. Like there was a few times during that there was without a doubt an impact to my confidence. Like during when we were actually making love, I felt inadequate. I felt it was pain. It was true pain, and I felt it. And like afterwards, I was like, "Damn, I'm doing this on purpose. I'm supposed to be doing this." So yeah, it hurt. It definitely hurt.
That sucks. Yeah. And not only did you do it on purpose, but you ended up extending it for longer than the original agreed upon time, which I'm sure Jenna was completely thrilled.
She got a refrigerator out of it. That's so she can't complain too much.
Oh, okay. Y'all had a deal.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Well, during the documentary, you said, I realized that nutrition flexibility is not a beginner trait, and that a client is eating potato chips, they cannot stop at a certain portion. I didn't get that before, now I do. So was the concept of food addiction completely new to you until this experiment?
No. So I've been fortunate with like my relationship with food. Now the concept of other people dealing with it, no, very acutely aware to that. Are you asking though for me and like dealing with it and maybe having some food addictions,
because when you work with your clients as a trainer, there's that behavioral piece. Yeah. But food addiction is not really a mainstream concept. I had never heard of it until I talked with Joan Ifland. Okay. And I thought it was like a funny joke. Right. Yeah. I'm addicted to food. I break out in a bad case of starvation, you know?
Exactly.
But then once we talked and I learned about the big tobacco takeover of snack food and how it's basically 10% of the market, and the science behind it, I realized, oh no, this is a real problem. Yeah. And so simple, behavior modification techniques don't 100% apply because you're talking about addictive substances.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't pretend to sit here and be a therapist, but if anyone can just blanketly say that someone only eats mindlessly and they're just fat and they're just lazy, they're completely not looking at the whole picture of someone. Like if you don't lead with empathy with people that are struggling with obesity and food addiction, good luck. Because I thought as a trainer, I would just be like, eat broccoli and do bicep curls. Like you're good. That's maybe 20% of it. It's how to fit fitness into their lifestyle instead of fitting their lifestyle into fitness. Like, how do we make it to where it's sustainable for you? Because you think about food and like it's around parties. There's nostalgia. You think about the foods that you ate growing up. Yeah. Culturally, I mean, what we eat here in the States versus what is eaten in the UK. Like the amount of emotions and people that have just had a stressed out day and come home and I just need to eat this. Like for them, it's their beer or that's their substance.
100%. And that is me 100%. Yeah. When I'm having a bad day, I want chocolate. Sure. I don't want other like carbs. So I specifically want chocolate. Yeah. I can feel my autonomic nervous system coming down when I eat it. Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's interesting that you talk about our culture and the nostalgia. I mean, the commercials too.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting what Joan says is that in order to overcome this, you have to remove the messaging. And that's part of the reason why I found your journey getting fit on fast food so interesting, because you were like leaning full in to the messaging that we have all the time.
Yeah. Full transparency. If I could have had it my way of, I guess, grabbing attention, I would have come up with a much more boring title. Like I would have come up like, get healthy with fast food. Like, but that's not what we consume. That's not what we want.
Yeah.
And for a long time as a trainer, I've, talked about let's eat more fiber and increase your protein and all that, but that's very boring. I wanted to grab the attention, bring you in and show you that it's okay. Like focus on what works for you. This is just one way. I'm not saying do it, by the way. Don't do it. So don't do
please don't actually try to eat fast food only for multiple months in a row.
Definitely not.
So how does your personal training communication with your clients change now that you have this hyper elevated awareness of what food addiction feels like?
Yeah. So I'm not going to say that just because I've gone through this, now I understand everything and I have a free pass. And like, I understand that my experience was limited. It was for 60 days. Or I guess you could say for that full year and then the 60 days of gaining the weight and all that. But when you're talking about somebody that's been dealing with this for years and years and years, like there's a lot to unpack there. But since I started as a trainer and up until now, empathy's always been the driving factor. Who am I to say that because this week, Meredith, because you needed chocolate, who am I to say that you're wrong for that? I would rather just unpack it and figure out, okay, well, what led to that? So what's different now is that I do know that I've been through it and I've felt some of those things, the actual physical and mental pain. And to me, it gives me a clearer vision and it makes me go a little bit farther now with the people I work with. It makes me dig for more options for them, I think.
Okay. Well, I want to dig into like the nitty gritty of the process.
Yeah.
So spoiler alert, he lost the weight. But tell everyone the results that you got just in 60 days eating fast food, going from 50 pounds overweight to 30?
31.6 if you want to be technical. Nitty gritty.
Speaking of the nitty gritty, yeah.
Yeah. So the blood work was very impressive to me. So I drew labs before I gained weight, which were all normal. And then after that 1 year, the testosterone was 318, which is pretty dadgum low.
Yeah.
And then after only 30 days, it had risen to 540, that was very impressive to me.
Okay. So wait, so say that again. Okay. So pre-gaining weight, everything was normal.
Yeah.
And then you took blood work again.
At the end of that, when I'd gained 50 pounds.
Okay. And your testosterone had plummeted.
To 380.
Wow.
Yeah. 340, excuse me, 340. Yeah.
What's normal range testosterone?
So there's a bunch of different ranges, but generally 250 to 1100. 250 to 1100. It's a very wide range.
That's a wide range.
It's a very wide range.
That's weird.
And it's dependent upon your age and where you should be. But again, I'm not a nurse practitioner. I don't run these clinics and whatnot, but I'm sure you've heard about clinics that are popping up left and right that they have nurse practitioners, they're doing hormone therapy and all that. And that is ultimately what they're doing. They're trying to optimize your testosterone, other hormones to make you feel better, because just because you hit the range in medicine right now, just because you hit the range doesn't necessarily mean that you're all good. I mean, you could feel like absolute garbage when your testosterone is in range, because it's such a wide range.
But you were just out of range. Well, you were still kind of at the lower end, but
I
you
was at the
felt
lower
terrible.
end. Like, you know, my primary care doctor probably would have been like, yeah, that's fine. No big deal. But how I felt was horrible. But, you know, just after 30 days, it had jumped all the way to 540, which was massive.
While eating fast food.
All I ate was fast food for 30 days.
So going back to the before. So before you started your getting fit on fast food journey, other than testosterone, what were the other lab markers that were affected?
So the lipid panel, your HDL, triglycerides, all that. And the triglycerides were, again, in the very beginning, before I gained weight, completely normal. 1 year later, triglycerides were in the 270 range, which is way high. And what was interesting was one of the nurse practitioners, I had a few providers that I interviewed, which they were awesome because they filled in a lot of gaps that I did not know. But apparently, because those triglycerides were so high, that can drop that testosterone, which was interesting because when I increased the testosterone, my triglycerides were also lower at that 30-day mark. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating.
And then, so 30-day mark, and then you go to the 60-day mark, and the testosterone was at 580. It had gone up 40 more points in 30 more days.
Wow.
I know. I was on the video, like I was running around screaming. We had to bleep out a lot of explicits because I was dumbfounded. You know, I had never done it on myself. I had read it and I had learned it, but until you see it on yourself, you're like, holy crap.
Well, I think that a lot of people don't believe that they have that much control. And so that's thing one, is there's a shift in the outlook on the agency of our bodies and the agency of our health outcomes. We think that we, are at the mercy of maybe whatever the doctor tells us or whatever the pharmaceutical ads suggest to us, or I think even over giving more credit to genetics than is really necessary.
Yeah.
So it's a totally different thought that, wait a minute, I have some sort of control over my health outcomes.
Yeah. In the book, I actually talk about, there's someone that I work with and I love her to death. She knows who she is. And one day she had said to me, she's like, my metabolism it's broken. And I didn't assume, maybe she did know, but I said, gotcha. How do you know that? And she was like, I just assumed. And so I talked to her about metabolism and I was like, by all means, let's get some blood work done and all that. But don't assume that something is happening if you don't know, if you haven't looked into it. Like I'm not saying don't be curious, but look into it before you have decided it. That's what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So the nitty gritty of your process. So you wake up, you're 50 pounds. Every day you're going to eat fast food. Are you eating fast food 3 meals a day every day?
Good question. So I knew that was going to come up. I knew people were going to say, well, it's because if he would have eaten 6 meals a day, of course he would have lost weight. Or if he would have eaten once a day and fasted, of course he would have lost weight. Right. So I did anywhere from 1 meal to 6 meals a day to get rid of that excuse.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what fine establishments are we talking about here?
It's a shorter list to say where did I not go.
Okay.
So McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Subway, Five Guys, Pizza Hut.
Steak and Shake.
I tried to stick to the major fast food chains. That way it would be applicable because those are everywhere. But it really is a shorter list of where I didn't go. I thought I would only end up going to maybe like 10 restaurants, but it was way, way more than that.
And how much per week were you spending?
Oh, Lord. That was another thing that blew me away. I went to McDonald's and got one burger and it was like next to $12.
Yep.
But by the end of the entire experiment, I had spent $1,800 on food. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And, and I DoorDashed a few times, not a lot. I tried to do my best to mirror the experience of what people were doing. And like I ordered ahead and then I'd go pick it up or I'd have it DoorDashed or I would just drive. You can go on, because everybody has an app. You can go on their app and be like, I'm going to order for Thursday.
No, I didn't.
On Monday.
I did not know that.
And then you can pick it. Yeah.
No, I've used Uber Eats once and it was during the pandemic. It was actually on a recording day and someone had canceled and we needed to bring in food and it was like $50. And so I was like, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, super expensive.
So when you ordered this food, are you ordering the healthiest version of this food? Are we doing grilled McNuggets? What are we doing?
It's another great question and something that I knew would come up. I wanted to do both of what I knew everybody was going to say. Of course, if he ate healthy food, I did both. Like I went to Five Guys and got their burgers that are made in peanut oil that are fantastic, by the way. And then I did get, I got salads one day or I got Subway sandwiches that had a lot of vegetables on it. And, the topic of it's a healthy food is what's healthy food to you? And to be clear, what's healthy fast food to you?
Oh, the first thing that popped in my head was salads.
Sure.
Second thing that pops in my head is just like a pile of meat.
Right. So, yeah, exactly.
That's all I can think of.
And see, some people would say like, no, like if you can't eat too much red meat, you'll see it on social media all the time where it's like, oh no, there's pesticides in the vegetables. Don't eat fruit and vegetables are the problem. That's the problem. So yeah, that was something that I couldn't get a clear answer from anyone. Like I went into Little Caesars one day, then I was getting a pizza and I was asking the guy, is it possible to get fit on fast food? He said, well, that's a healthy pizza. You have right there. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, what makes it a healthy pizza? He said, you got vegetables on it. I was like, oh, okay, right on. Cool. So the perception of what is healthy food is just all over the place.
I think that contributes to the confusion, like I said in the intro.
Yeah.
And, you get these places like Whole Foods and Fresh Market, and they have all these organic snacks, but they're just, sure, maybe they're organic, but they're still like, 30 carbs per serving, or maybe they're high calorie or whatever. So it is confusing.
Extremely.
So my next question is actually about calories. So you're going to these fast food places, you're eating all over the menu, you're eating sometimes once a day, sometimes 6 times a day. Are you tracking a certain amount of calories?
Yeah. So, and to clarify, anywhere from 1 to 6, I think it averaged out to be around 3 meals a day most of the time. But yeah, I was shooting for 2,000 to 2,100 calories, and I did not hit that every day. Not even close.
What was an average daily caloric intake for you during that time?
So, the very first day I actually accidentally messed up the numbers and I ate like 1,000 calories just by accident. But there were other days where I would eat close to 1,800. And I think the average was around 1,800, maybe 1,750, I think. But there were some days that I went way over. But
what's way over, Matt?
Like, I believe there was one day it was like 2,700 or maybe even 3,000.
Okay.
And for a second, it looked like you were looking at me with confusion. It was like, well, so how did this work?
Well, I'm wondering, like, what is a caloric deficit for you?
Got it. So if I was at my normal, healthy weight, I should be eating around 2,000 calories a day. And that's pretty average for most American men. When I'm ever doing like trying to lean down for a photo shoot or whatever, it'll be 1,800 calories or 1,700, depending on.
Which is pretty low for a guy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it's dependent upon what season I'm in, what type of working out I'm doing, whatnot. But 1,800.
How many beach visits you have on the calendar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How tan I am, yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so you were tracking the calories, like you were using MyFitnessPal or something like that.
I think I was using Lose It. You know what? I'm wrong. It was MyFitnessPal. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you're tracking calories. You're eating all over the place. You felt like shit before. Yep. Did you, when you were trying to get fit did you use fast food to gain the weight?
A little bit, but not even close to a significant amount. There was, for me, about fast food and eating in general, it's usually driven by budgetary, to be honest. But it was most of the time what I would normally eat, just more. And then towards the end of really trying to hit that 50-pound mark, I had to lean on liquid calories, which got me over the mark very easily. And, I'd eat Little Debbie's and whatnot. I went for foods that were higher in calories at times, yeah.
Okay. So then when you're losing the weight using fast food, did you feel better or worse during that process? Because you're presumably eating less healthy food, but more in range of calories, and you have hope now.
Yeah.
So that really changes things.
Yeah. During the first 15 pounds of weight loss, it was the worst for sure, because I had started at day 1 of fast food, weighing 211. For the first 15 pounds, it was rough because I had low quality food that was higher in sodium and all that and made me feel bad. But after I got rid of that first 15 pounds, it was better because I just had less body fat on me. Like it was, it was less on the joints. It was less on like my feet hurting in the morning, like I was talking about. So first 15 pounds, yes, much worse than the second 15 pounds-ish.
So you didn't have any, I'll call them side effects from eating fast food all the time like that? Like that would tear my gut up.
No. So, there was a few times that I had some things that did rip my stomach apart, like because I'm lactose intolerant like most people. But it wasn't like every single day. Like I noticed there were certain things that without a doubt hit me harder than other. Who was it? Culver's. They had an incredible shake. It was
You videoed
so
that.
good,
That was in
so
your
good.
documentary.
But I felt horrible. I remember laying on the couch there and it came over me like just a blanket of hell. It was horrible.
That is bad.
Yeah. But yeah, no, there definitely were times that were worse than others.
Okay. So I've heard you say in your book, and I think in the video, in the documentary, that it's mathematics, calories in, calories out. Is there any circumstance in which it would not be pure mathematics for a person trying to lose weight?
There's definitely instances where it makes it more difficult, but it's not impossible for anyone. And I'm not saying that, if someone did go do exactly what I did, that they would lose, 31.6. No, it's going to look different for everyone. But at the end of the day, it's still physics. It's still mathematics. And, I think we want the answer to be, no, you just have to eat healthy food. Like, I think for some people, seeing that you can get fit on fast food, I think there's a sore subject there, because I think some people then realize I have more agency than I thought I did. And I don't say that with any shame towards anyone. To be honest, the reason I did it was to empower people out there to know that you don't have to eat organic, farm-raised tomatoes and like it's not that complicated. I'm not saying it's easy, but it is simple.
So you're saying surrendering to the idea that it's out of reach is not easier, but it's like a way to just go, oh, well, like a shrug. It's like a permissive shrug of, well, that's just not for me and that's okay. And
Correct.
I love myself no matter what.
Yes.
And, there you go. So you're saying that sort of disrupts that idea.
I think so. And I have total empathy for why that would be upsetting, because I remember so vividly at night feeling horrible when I was overweight and thinking to myself, if I did not know how to get out of this, I would never want to leave the house. I wouldn't want to get out of bed. When I was around people, I'd have to pull my shirt down lower and my arms would land here to cover my stomach up. And I never understood those things. I saw them, but I never understood it. And my heart hurts for people out there that feel that they are trapped and that they don't have control, don't have agency. But you do. It's not easy, but it is simple.
Yeah. Most of the U.S. is not metabolically healthy. Yeah. Only 12%.
Is that the number?
That is the number. I looked it up before because I didn't want to say it on camera. That'd be wrong. So everyone can Google it. It's 12%. It's crazy. And so when I think about the people that the idea of losing weight is not simple math, I do think about those folks, because think about like maybe both of your parents struggled with being overweight and then you were born and that kind of set point was passed on to you. And then you grew up in a house where these ways of eating and these kinds of foods were the only choice that you had. Yeah. And then there you go. And then before you know it, you get the freshman 15 and then the stress of adult life. And so they don't have the advantage of, not having that set point of being fit their whole lives.
Absolutely.
So I kind of wonder, I just want to put that in the conversation a little bit.
I totally get what you're saying. Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but are you saying like, hey, you've been fit your whole life. What the hell do you know?
I'm trying to really sweetly say that.
I totally know. I'm glad that you would say it, because you're 100% right. I think it's one thing to say that I have all of these outside influences, all of these things around me, all these things that shaped me, that has made this so incredibly difficult to be done, versus it's not going to work for me. And as long as someone knows that it's possible, again, it is not easy, but it is simple. I'd be lying if I said that experience didn't shift the way I eat to this day. It was profound things that I found throughout the whole thing. And like, I haven't dropped any weight since then.
Really?
Granted, now I think I said it in the documentary, and I'll say it now, that I like the way I feel and I like the way that I weigh, but I don't think it's possible that I wasn't shifted in some way internally. I don't think it's possible.
What do you mean?
After a year of doing that, the impact on my relationship, the impact on my metabolic health, the entire process of learning it, I don't think it's possible that I haven't been forever shifted in some way. I'm not saying like this has caused like a crippling food addiction for me or anything, but I think that experiences throughout your entire life is going to change certain things. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Well, I'm curious if you're talking about behaviorally, or if you're talking neurologically, or if you're talking like, I don't know, spiritually.
And it could be any and all. From a behavior standpoint, yeah, I think that's definitely affected me. Because for a year, I was just reaching for more,
Right,
for more,
exactly.
reaching for more, which, for 16 years now, like I had this sort of governor of, no, you're good. You don't have to have the whole bag with you. So this originally, you were talking about, I've been fit my whole life. So isn't it easier for me than someone that hasn't been fit their whole life? And I mean, maybe you could say yes to that. Maybe you could. But at the end of the day, it still works for both you and I. And I say that with empathy.
Well, that's interesting, though, that you think that your like internal governor has been recalibrated a little bit.
I think so.
Because that's very insightful. And like you said, very helpful, a helpful tool in you working with your clients in this scenario that I painted, to know that their concept of what is enough, like y'all aren't speaking the same language.
You're exactly right. Yeah. And I think that's on the user of trying to figure out, why is that not enough? Because again, I'm no therapist, but I feel like if there's any sort of food addiction, I feel like there's something deeper. There has to be something deeper. It's a coping mechanism for what? And that's tough. That's not an easy thing to accomplish. It's not a quick thing to accomplish either, I would imagine.
No, I don't think so. And you also have, the benefit of being a male under 40.
Absolutely.
So, because when I was at the gym, and most of the ladies at the gym are over 50.
Sure.
And we were doing our thing, and they were like, have y'all heard about this Matt guy? Meredith, are you interviewing him? You talked to him about menopause. And so I think it can be frustrating for not just people who are settled in the I can't, but for people who have been medically gaslit. And that is pretty much every woman out there, especially every perimenopausal and menopausal woman, because the math isn't always mathin' for them. And sometimes a lot of times it's more complicated. And it's also met with a lot of shrugging on behalf of medical professionals because our bodies have not been studied up until recently. So they just don't know.
Yeah, no. And I won't pretend to know what it's like to feel like a woman. And my dad's in his late 70s now, and he's like, it's hell getting old. And I won't pretend to know what it feels like. So whenever he does grunt and moan, whenever we're going to the store to get lumber or whatever, like, I don't have any judgment of that because I don't know what it's like. Without a doubt, get in the hands of a healthcare provider that can help manage PCOS or hypothyroid or whatever, like have it handled without a doubt. But maybe see a registered dietitian too, because they're fantastic and they're underutilized, I feel.
Yes, that is true. That is true. Well, the other kind of but that I wanted to bring up is hyperinsulinemia, because 35% of the American population has that.
Yeah.
And for those folks, that is another tricky thing, because insulin is a hormone.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
hormones affect how you feel.
Absolutely.
They can also affect your interpretation of hunger and satiety.
Absolutely.
So like if your sugar's super high, then super low. I had hypoglycemia as a high schooler. Okay. And I developed like an anxiety around it, because I would feel so hungry, like I was going to faint. And so I would eat, you ready for this? A double-decker peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I was also a goalkeeper, so I was like, I'll take up more room in the goal box. I had a very healthy, positive body image, but I gained a lot of weight very quickly. So that's kind of the other thing. So in your conversations with people, the reaction to this experiment, the reaction to your documentary, the reaction to your book, how are you handling those conversations when they're like, but I have chronically high blood sugar?
Yeah. You're not wrong. Absolutely. And it does not minimize, like, what this documentary and this book was about was not to say, hey, everybody, it's easy and you're all just making excuses. Far from it. And, if we're going off of me saying, don't do what I did, like, it would mean do this even less. I think the whole point of it was like, you don't have to have special foods to decrease body fat. And so with all that said, if you have hormone imbalances and all that, you're 100% right. It's going to make it, if you have low testosterone as a man, it's going to change things. If you have thyroid dysfunction, it's going to change things without question. Those need to be handled. And I would say handle that before you even start working on a calorie deficit, because I feel that mental fitness, nutrition, training, and recovery, those are my 3 pillars of ultimately fitness, wellness. If your behavior change or if your mental fitness isn't squared away, nutrition and the training doesn't matter because you're not going to stick to them. So I say all that to say they need to be handled. Absolutely. But the math still is there for all.
Yeah. It just might be different.
More difficult.
Yeah. What has been the reaction? Because, we talk about people who are on that end of the spectrum where they're like, oh, I can't do this because of genetics and whatever, and so this is an eye-opening experience.
Yeah.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have people who actually have like fitness certifications who are not able to lose weight. Most doctors and nurses I've met are overweight.
Absolutely.
Most of them.
Yeah.
So I'm specifically, because you are a nurse,
Sure.
I want to know, what was the reaction among your peers to this?
So across the board, no matter who I talked to, if I just was like, I'm eating nothing but fast food for 60 days to lose weight, I got a double take every single time. People are like, what the heck? What are you doing? So it's a lot of shock, I think. And then I've had a few people say that's not healthy. And I would ask you listening right now, what is healthy? Define that first, because I think there's definitely an objective definition of healthy, but like we all have our own different definition of healthy. So while no, you should not eat nothing but fast food, and we should eat, whole foods and minimally processed and all that. But if someone knew that they could eat fast food at times and still lose weight if they focused on the numbers, isn't that healthier? I mean, are there certain foods that you could choose that are fast food that are more beneficial with vitamins and minerals? I think so. Did I lose track of the question?
No,
All right.
Not quite. Not quite. I do want to know, like, did it inspire anyone?
Yes.
Or did it really piss anyone off? I guess I'm looking for those extreme ends.
I've been looking through the comments. I've actively been looking
in
through.
real life, like at work.
There were a few people that were jokingly like, "Oh yeah, of course you can lose weight because you've been the fit guy." So yeah,
that was my reaction.
Absolutely,
that was my reaction.
Absolutely, and I think that in that joke there was at least like 40% like, oh, I'm being serious, like, yeah, and I can understand why it would annoy some people. I get that, but it was the exact reason that I was trying to do it. I was trying to relate. I was trying to show that it was possible for it, at least me. Some people were like, oh, you still looked like you're in shape. I was like, I had 50, like people thought I was still, they're like, you look good. And I was like, I mean, metabolically, I was terrible.
But you're also a mesomorph.
Well,
I mean, you gain and lose weight easily. It's evenly distributed over your body, except for your butt, which you pointed out several times in the documentary.
people love a big butt on a guy. I didn't know that.
Okay.
They did.
Well, poll the audience. I don't know. But like, as opposed to like an ectomorph, or I forget what the other one is.
Mesomorph, endomorph, ectomorph.
And yeah.
Well, not to be like, actually, but I'm going to be the actually guy. So those aren't really solid anymore. So they've pretty much been disproven. Now, I mean, if you look at that chart of the meso, endo, and ecto, like there are people that look like that, but we have the ability to shift through it. Long story short, I think it was a psychologist that came up with it way back in the day, and it was
an institutionalized hypothesis.
It was ultimately.
We have a lot of those institutionalized hypotheses in nutrition and fitness.
So my bad. I didn't mean to be like a gotcha, but
no, it's totally fine. So the reaction, you did inspire some people at work.
Yeah, at work, and then online, and the shock and awe that you're doing it, and then it's very impressive that you could do it, and then of course you could do it. I think those were like the those are the main themes from the people around me that I work with.
In your documentary, or no, it was in your book, you said you're not reading this book because you've committed to eating healthier. You're reading it because you don't want to quit the foods you enjoy, but you still want to make progress with your weight loss goals.
Yep.
Why was it important to you to include that subset of people in the wellness conversation?
If you can't stop them, help them anyway.
So like harm reduction?
Yeah. Harm reduction?
Yeah, like in addiction circles, like, you set up a safe needle clinic.
Okay, yeah, actually, then, yeah, that's spot on. I've never heard that before, but yeah, that's spot on. I would rather meet somebody where they're at and find what works for them than to tell them, hey, eat whole foods, drink a whole bunch of water. You have to do this or you're not going to be successful. Work out 5 days a week or you're screwed. Like, I would rather meet you where you are and give you what you need. And that may take a while. So me writing this book, me doing this documentary that is very weird and completely outlandish to what we know. Like my own mother, like I've been talking about this stuff for a long time. My own mother was like, how are you going to lose? I don't understand. What do you mean? And I've been saying it for years. I think it's ingrained in us that it's certain foods, you got to eat organic and all that. And it's not that complicated. It's not easy, but it's simple. It can be simple.
Yeah.
And we can overcomplicate it at every turn. I've done it myself.
I think society makes it a little complicated.
Absolutely.
I think the constant messaging of food, like the food-shaped pool floats, the food erasers, the food screensavers, the food billboards. Yeah. When we don't usually have a television that has commercials, we have the streaming services, although more commercials are coming into those now. Yeah. And when we do, and they do have commercials, we play a game where we count how many of them are pharmaceutical ads and how many of them are food ads. And it's one or the other. It's food, pharmaceutical, food, pharmaceutical. So will this change the way that you advise your clients around the messaging that they're receiving?
I've always talked to clients and told them, be careful about what you're consuming. Like overconsumption, especially of social media, it can be a lot. I don't know if you've ever done like a social media detox or whatever, where you just sort of go away from it. Maybe it's not, I'm off of it for 3 weeks hardcore, but I've done it before where I've intentionally been on social media less and I've found so much more quiet in my head because of, you're right, of how much advertising we get. Like billions and billions go into advertising for us to buy in whatever market that may be. So yes, without a doubt, social media breaks is probably one of the biggest because I think that's what impacts a lot of the clients that I work with.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's next for you? You have all these new thoughts and all this new, experience. What's the next big thing?
I have a few ideas in my head, to be honest with you. I've wanted to be thoughtful about what the next one is. And this whole experiment came about for many different reasons, but one of the big reasons was because of one client of mine. And whatever this next experiment is, I want it to make sure that it's ultimately serving the people that either I'm working with or that is watching the videos or whatnot. But it's without a doubt going to be something that I can do that someone else can do, something that's within my control, that's within someone else's control.
That was the most general
Was it really?
announcement ever.
So
you mean no sneak peek here, exclusive?
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure what the exact next project is going to be, but what I'm finding more and more is what we know about micronutrients, so vitamins, minerals, and all that, and what it does for us. So obviously, calories and macronutrients, proteins, carbs, fat, does a lot if you drop the calories, right? You can lose fat. But what do the micronutrients do? Like, how do they really help you feel? How do they really make you perform? I believe that my next route is going to be in that realm of micronutrients. I think, and I've taken a lot of supplements and tried it and whatnot, and creatine's been a fantastic one. I've seen a lot of benefit from that. I think that I may end up going with one micronutrient to see, is that the payoff or benefit from it? To see, does that actually happen? Maybe blood work and all that. But I want it to be an experiment very similar to how I went very in depth with the DEXA scan, the blood work, and interviewing specialists and going on the street and asking people what they think. And I believe it's going to be micronutrient driven.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to have a front row seat of whatever's next. And I enjoyed your book. What I think people will like about it is that most of this is like a reference. Like this whole inner part is what to eat at Firehouse Subs, what to eat at, Chick-fil-A. And I was out the other day and I was like, dang it, I wish I had that. But I did, look at the menu and made a smarter choice because of it. So thank you so much for sharing. Tell people where they can buy the book and follow whatever is next for you.
So getfitonfastfood.com. It'll take you straight to Amazon, the book. The documentary is Can I Get Fit on Fast Food? And if you just search Matt Lane Fitness on pretty much any platform, you can find me there. But yeah, I'm very grateful. It was really fun. I've been looking forward to this. And you point that out about the book. I even was very intentional in making the reading portion of the book, I guess I would say, shorter and more simple, because there's so much detail that you can go into and overwhelm people that I wanted it to be shorter. And just as a guide, it's actually labeled as a guidebook. So yeah, I appreciate you pointing that out.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you again. This was great. Cheers again.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.